can't have the greatest boom in history without it coming down hard and strong and having a big crash. That's just the nature of markets. They go both ways. But what's happened uniquely here, the markets did peak in late 2007, as I've been warning for a long time, when baby boomers were peaking in their spending curve, all the way from 1983 to 2007. That is when people keep hitting age 46, their peak spending in higher numbers. And what happened in that crash in 2008 and 9 is the central banks panicked and they just said, well, we can't have a depression. And that's what it looked like. And that's what it would be like after such a great boom, just like the roaring 20s and in the early 30s and the Great Depression. And so they've been printing money ever since. And then when they hit COVID, they printed more money in the last year and a half or two than they printed in the 10 years before that. So we're in this basically confrontation between central banks desperately printing ever more money to keep us from shaking out the greatest bubble in financial assets in history, the greatest debt bubble in history, and now global, more than any time in history. This is a big deal, but it's bearish only because we're coming out of the most bullish period in history. So it's not a bad story. We have to shake out these excesses, or the millennials will never be able to invest at reasonable rates, and the economy can't rebalance and prepare for the next boom. And again, I've been predicting the next boom forever would be the millennials from 2024 into 2037. Not as long as the baby boom and not as steep, but we will see another boom to follow this in the US and more so in Asia, especially India this time, and China and Southeast Asia. So there's more boom to come, but we have a major, this is going to be the biggest crash, right, the biggest downturn of your lifetime is what I'm saying. And most of it's going to happen probably in 2022. Okay, so first of all, I've studied every major bubble in history and the first crash. Now, I'm just saying the first crash, when the bubble finally gives, okay, like in 1929, or in 2000, in May of 2000, when it first crashed. The first crash averages 46% in just 2.6 months. Now, when a major bubble of this magnitude, like 1929 or 2000 or now 2021 crashes, the whole crash tends to be about 80 to 90%. 1929 was down 89%, 78, in 2002 crash, the NASDAQ was down 78%. I'm saying stocks in general in this crash will be closer to the 29 to 32 crash. I'm estimating 87% for the S&P 500 and maybe slightly higher for the NASDAQ. So this is not something to sit through and just rebalance, as financial advisors say. Yeah. You have to get out of the way of this, and then we will have the buy opportunity in investments of a lifetime in around late 2023 or so. I predicted the 2007 top 20 years before it happened. That was a natural boom driven by real consumers and investors. You've got governments fighting this crash, and so it is impossible to predict exactly when it's happening. I am telling you, and I will stand by this, we are going to see, and I think it's going to happen in 2022. You cannot tell exactly, but the signs are recently, what we've seen one index from the corporate bonds to then the small caps and Bitcoin, and then the NASDAQ peaked in November 22nd, and it looks to me like the S&P could have peaked basically yesterday. So we see the succession of peaks down into narrower, more large cap. That's a classic long-term top. That's why I'm saying it's likely now, but there is no way to tell this until it happens. But I am warning people with unbelievable analysis in history of every bubble, major bubble in the last 150 years, that first crash will be 40 to 55% so fast you will not see it. So if you wait to see if I'm right and take that risk, you are going to be.
The market's very volatile right now, especially the crypto, and I definitely think it's being propped up. It's definitely being manipulated. They're continuing to prop it up. They're continuing to blow the bubble, and we all know eventually it's going to pop. It's hard to tell when, but I think when it does, you're going to want to be in the position. We've learned from history. That's when millionaires are made. That's when people establish wealth. Be ready for the next crash. I believe it's not a matter of if, but of when. They'll continue to prop it and to inflate it, and eventually it'll collapse into their new system, crypto and blockchain. As they continue to destroy the Fed, that is the system they're building that will completely take over. That's where it's headed.